The 2025 Arlington Renegades have missed the playoffs. This is deserved. I picked this team to win the championship this year, and after the first week, it looked really good. Well, we didn't realize at the time that the Brahmas would be the single worst team in the league, and that win actually meant nothing and was not even remotely impressive. So, you eliminate that week 1 game because, again, it was against the worst team in the league that we didn't realize yet. How'd they do since then? Well, they barely beat Anthony Brown's Roughnecks by 2 points. Note, the Roughnecks did score and had a 2-point conversion that they just failed, so you almost lost to the single worst quarterback in the league this year, Anthony Brown. I mean, really, that's insane. The Stallions lost. Some Renegades fans will blame it on the officials. A lot of Renegades fans will realize that their team didn't deserve the win. They went 0-4 in the red zone in that game. The officials didn't gift Birmingham a touchdown. Yes, the last false start play was insanely aggravating. Maybe you should have stopped Birmingham on that drive, though. Maybe you should have scored a touchdown. Maybe if you don't fumble the ball, you don't have the issue where the Stallions end up getting it from some weird reason. That game was on Arlington. I said it when I watched that game. There was no excuse for Arlington to lose that game, and they did. They deserved it. What about the St. Louis win? You didn't really win that game. You didn't deserve that win. Now, I know some could say, oh, if. No. When you score a touchdown because the opposing quarterback tears his Achilles on a non-contact injury, fumbles the ball because he's grabbing his leg, and you score a touchdown off that, that's not a real touchdown. So, bam, 8 points off the board like that. You only win by a little bit there, right? You end up winning 22-15. Oh, but wait a minute. The very end of the game, you scored another touchdown. So you really didn't win at all. You didn't deserve it. I know some people said the pick six. No, the pick six at the end of the game doesn't count. The one in the middle of the game does, because the last play was the last play of the damn game, and you scored. St. Louis, even with all that, nearly won. If they just do better play calls and hand the ball off to Sailors, you lose that game to St. Louis. I called it when that game happened. I said people were getting the wrong takeaway. That game showed that St. Louis was a better team than Arlington. And guess what in the rematch? St. Louis played like trash, and they still won by a pretty sizable 6 points. And I say sizable because, again, Arlington only put up 6 points. Could have scored, didn't take points. Fumbled away red zone chances, like normal. The DC game, which one? The first one. When you ended up losing by blowing a then UFL record 15-point lead, ain't nothing needs to be said about that. Actually, there is. The very end of the game, less than about 4 minutes left, I think it was actually less than 2.5 minutes. Jordan Teamu throws what should have been a game-losing interception to Ajane Harris. The Renegades then go on to go 3 and out, and then DC gets another chance and win the game. The St. Louis rematch, again, already talked about it. You played like utter trash against them and lost when the Battlehawks didn't even play good. The Panthers game. You want to talk about a guaranteed win you blew? You got gifted multiple fumbles in great field position. Got points you didn't really earn. Then at the very end of the game, couldn't stop Michigan's final drive. You knew back-to-back plays they were going to hand it off to Toa and run it up the middle. You couldn't stop them either time. And there's Renegades fans that want to blame the clock stopping. Number one, it was ruled a first down. The clock would have stopped anyway. And number two, upon first viewing, replay, showing Nolan, there was still a second left in the clock anyway. You blew that game. The DC game this past weekend. Final score wasn't 33-37. That's a Wikipedia L. It was 30-33. In field goal range, your kicker made a kick longer than the one he's in current range. Luis Perez decides to call his own number and do a fake spike. Throws a game-losing interception. You serious? The King of Spring did that? My God. Look, what it comes down to is Bob Stoops needs to go. And Perez, I hate to say it, but this should be his last year here. When you have... Look, this isn't even talking about last year. I've talked about last year enough. Weeks 2 and 3 against the Battlehawks and Defenders when you allowed literal last-second field goals, and then you did it again against Michigan. When you lost to the C.J. Johnson 2024 Roughnecks team that would go on to go 1-9, losing to the Showboats twice, blowing the Week 1 game against Birmingham because you allowed the Deion Kane touchdown at the end of the half and then did nothing the rest of the game. Even last year they did this. This season was just a flip reverse. Instead of it being a great offense that had a terrible defense, it was a pretty poor offense with a great defense. Instead of blowing the early season, you blew the late season, right? You still went 3-1 at a certain time, and the rest of the season you went winless. They're probably doing that this year as well. It is pitiful. This Renegades team is a joke. So again, why should Stoops and Perez go? Oh, they won the championship a couple years ago. Yeah, let's look back at that championship game. That championship game, people forget, Perez was not great when he went to Arlington. He was great when the playoffs started. He had 2 incredible games where he basically was able to will that team to win a championship. Even then, though, they were a 4-6 team in the playoffs. It's not like they were dominating. They weren't. Again, they just got really hot at the very, very perfect time. They beat a Roughnecks team that season couldn't beat good teams. They went 0-3 against the big 3 in the other division. Then they beat the Defenders, who had already blown a game to a terrible team, and then just got beat in the championship game. So even that championship game, which you did deserve it, again, the Defenders, that was a real win. The Roughnecks win wasn't that impressive, and again, it took Perez having a Herculean effort to pull it off. Since then, you have blown the Stallions, the Battlehawks, the Defenders, the Roughnecks, the Panthers, the Brahmas in Week 8. Those are blown games. You should have won all 6 of those. This season, the Stallions, the Defenders, both times. The Battlehawks, if you hold a team to under 15 and lose, you blew the game. And Michigan. You're talking about over 10 games that you could argue they have blown in the last 2 seasons alone. The only game that you can maybe say they just legit lost and were beaten by a better team was the Week 5 Brahmas game, which even then was closer than the final score says. Every other loss, they blew. This isn't you got beat. This isn't you got boat race. This isn't the better team won. This is you choked. Some way, somehow, you allowed a last-second drive. You couldn't score a last-second drive. You made a mistake with a challenge. You made a mistake with a timeout. Every other game has been a blown win. And even their wins in the past 2 seasons were to a Battlehawks team playing Manny Wilkins when they had virtually nothing to play for, because the only game that mattered that year was Week 10 against the Brahmas, which even then only mattered so much because the Brahmas were insanely injured. So you beat a Battlehawks team not really playing with much and playing with a backup quarterback. You beat a Showboats team that only beat the Roughnecks, and the Showboats were the worst team statistically. You beat DC in a meaningless Week 10 game. That's probably your best win, was a meaningless Week 10 game against DC. Because this season, the Brahmas 33-9 win. Yeah, guess what? Multiple other teams did that to San Antonio this year. Not impressive. Houston, you almost blew that game. Not impressive. The Battlehawks in Week 4, you got 2 touchdowns that shouldn't have counted. In theory, you know what I mean when I say shouldn't have counted. Not impressive. So of your 6 wins, only one of them was somewhat impressive, and even that one wasn't great. Because again, the Battlehawks game, people forget, Manny threw a very late pick 6. That game was a 1-score game where Manny had multiple chances to pull off the win. That's the Renegades' last 2 years. How can you even defend Stoops? There is no defending Bob as a coach this year. I mean this when I say this. He is a college legend. He is an XFL champion. He is also the worst coach in the league right now. The worst. Not CJ, not Jim Turner, not Pardee, not Nolan, Bob Stoops. There is no defending this many blown games. The penalties. You have the same head coach, quarterback, and offensive coordinator. The amount of pre-snap penalties they've taken this year, whether it be a false start, a delay of game, which that's inexcusable. They should have taken maybe 2 delay of game penalties all season with this group. They've taken at least like 1 almost every game. It's pitiful. The amount of penalties that affect this team on a game-by-game basis is incredible. People want to blame the officials. Oh, they're rating it against Arlington. No, they're not. You make mistake after mistake. You're an undisciplined team. Nobody was saying the refs were screwing over the Cowboys when that first year with McCarthy where they led the league in penalties. You know why? They were an undisciplined team. The Renegades, undisciplined. What does it mean if you're undisciplined? It falls on the leaders of the team. Who are the biggest leaders? Your coach and your quarterback. Who are the 2 guys that have who have done the worst this year considering what they were expected? The coach and the quarterback. Again, Perez. This season's quarterback play, minus Perkins and Teamu, has been really weak. So Perez has gotten a lot of slack for not playing great football because playing good is considered great this season. Yes, he's had 300-yard games. But remember this, receiving core-wise, he's got Javonte Payton, Sal Cannella, Tyler Vaughns, among many other receivers. He has one of, if not the best receiving core in the league. And he's not consistently scoring in the red zone, right? Kalen Ballage, I remember when he went down, everybody acted like it was the end of the world. Again, I hope he has a great recovery. I said it early on. His stats were inflated by the initial run he had in week 1. Since then, he really wasn't that great. But he went down. If he was as good as people acted like he was after the injury, how come the team wasn't putting up 30 points every game before that? Again, a lot of these games they scored points on defense. The St. Louis game, 2 of their touchdowns came from defense. Their offense put up less than 15 points in that game, in all honesty. It's just maddening. This team is so unbelievably frustrating to watch. When you watch them, it is Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. You knew when Michigan was driving that somehow they were going to win. It looked like they were making mistake after mistake, but you knew deep down, even if you were a diehard Renegades fan, you knew we're going to lose this game. Guess what? You lost. Against DC, you're having this great comeback. You're making this great last drive. You're going to make up for the loss against DC in week 5. Back in your mind, something doesn't feel right. Your spider sense is starting to tingle. The team gets into field goal range. This isn't right. Something's happening. Perez goes for the spike. It's not a spike. He throws interception, you lose. Not even shocked. Was there really, at the end of the day, was there a single Renegades fan that was actually mad when Perez threw that? Not sad, actually mad. No. Because they knew it was going to happen. They didn't think it was going to be that exact way to lose, but they knew they were going to lose the game. You knew they weren't going to win. I mean, it was just a foregone conclusion. They played the game. The Renegades, when they suited up and decided to hit the field, every fan knew they're going to lose the game. There was no shock when they lost. It was just shocking in how they lost. But is it really? You lost the same way 3 times last season. The exact same way you lost 3 times last year. Last second field goals to lose those games. This season, it's been a different way. It's been this wide array of how do you blow it. 0 of 4 in the red zone against Birmingham. Blowing a 15-point lead, which was the record before the Roughnecks broke that record. So congrats, you don't even have that record. Even the ineptitude records you can't hold on to. The Battlehawks game, you just didn't show up on offense, and you lost. Michigan, allowing them to score a literal walk-off touchdown and 1-point conversion on you. DC, the fake spike. I mean, those are losses that are inexcusable to have happened. Like, 2 of those in a season could be arguments for a coach getting fired. I mean, Matt Eberflus, his firing happened because of the timeout no call in Thanksgiving. Yes, he had a lot of issues beforehand, but that's what got him fired. The Renegades, every game this season has been something like that. I mean, it's you can't even imagine it. It's unimaginable. This is one of those things where it's the joke, right? If you made a movie with them losing these games, no one would believe it was real. Because it's week in and week out. They're blowing games in just historic fashions that are just so aggravating to watch. It's insane. They missed the playoffs. They deserve it. They are a weak team. They need changes. They need more changes than the Roughnecks. Because this is a kind of issue that when you're seeing it in back-to-back seasons, it becomes something that you just can't fix. Yes, I know some would argue, oh, but they technically went 6-2 during a stretch. Yeah, during a stretch where beforehand they went 0-6, and afterward they probably are going to go 0-6. Even if they win their last 2 games, is anyone going to care? No, because it'll be when nobody's playing for anything. Again, the Stallions, Panthers, Battlehawks, and Defenders know where their home game is. Yes, I know there's the we can choose to defer. You're not playing for home field advantage. They're not going to try as hard. So even if you win these games, it's either congrats, you beat a terrible team, or you beat a team that's playing for nothing. Is that really impressive? Again, like last year, when you started winning, didn't matter. You were 0-6 out of the playoffs, and then you just happened to go 3-1. Now, it just so happened you played the weakest team in the league, a Battlehawks team without their starting quarterback, and a Defenders team in Week 10, which is meaningless. I mean, seriously, it's a joke. If you're a Renegades fan, man, if the Renegades are your favorite team, you're probably sick to your stomach with how the season's gone, and you are definitely hoping Stoops is gone. If you think Stoops should stay, you're not really a Renegades fan. You're a Battlehawks fan, a Defenders fan, or a Brahmins fan, because Stoops is the weakest link on this team. Because when you have this issue happen year after year, again, minus the playoffs, he has not had a winning season during this ultramodern era. 2023, they finished 4-6 in the regular season. So even with the playoffs, he's never done better than 500. That's inexcusable. We give that same trash to CJ. Now, the only difference is, of course, Stoops did win the championship with Perez balling out those 2 weeks. But CJ at least finished 500 in a regular season back in 2023. Stoops can't say he's done that in this era. So when you have a guy like Curtis Johnson that has a leg up on you in an argument, that's bad. That's really bad. So it is what it is. This has been Tom Fox. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified to upload any videos. This is the last playoff bound or eliminated video for the year. I believe I'm posting this one on Friday at 6 p.m. Again, wild stuff, but yeah, add this to the rant playlist. This Renegades team, man, actual joke. Again, you may be wondering why I only had the one image, just like the show was last year. I'm not going to put an extra effort to edit a video for a team that doesn't deserve it. So, it is what it is. Have a great night, everybody.
Gonna get it quickly to the